Mandela kept the baby monitor in Sam's room, even though they were 4 years old. She watched them contort as they slept. Separated by the walls of the office, the grind of her meaningless job, and a 2-second video delay, Sam was not a real child, but an echo. She could observe Sam, but never touch, like the ancient shine of starlight. Even awake, there was a distance between her and the child that her arms could never cross. Maybe if they didn't look so much like the husband they took from her. Mandela was raising a déjà vu. Sam would be eating breakfast, mousy brown hair a rat's nest, sleep crusting their eyelids, and with a twitch of their lips they'd evoke a snapshot memory of Guy. His cheery yet hungover eyes, his early morning rasp, a cup of coffee in her hands.
I took a picture of you sleeping.
Her blank reaction, the fear she had spent a month with a pervert.
No, not like that. It was just so... I knew you'd want to see. Here.
He grabbed his phone, showed her. Both her feet planted on the wall above the headboard, arms spread across all the pillows, a glutton of sleep. Her snorting laugh. Is that why you slept at the foot of the bed? I thought you were too drunk to climb in. That smile of his, cigarette stained but as bright as a child.
No, that was you.
She could feel where his hands would hold her, where his chest would press against hers in an embrace. She was lost in memory when Sam set down her spoon and spoke through a mouthful of Cookie Crisp.
Dada thought I'd be a girl.
Mandela choked on her toast. What?
Dada wanted to call me Samantha.
Dada. She became the affectionless mom at 22 months. Her late husband got to remain the sweet, infantile Dada. Who told you that? Sam chewed slowly, then swallowed.
Dada.
Mandela repeated a mental refrain a therapist told her 2 years ago. The divide between you two isn't your fault, and it's not Sam's. It's the gulf between species. The humanity she saw in Sam was not always there. She could still see the black oil stains on the baseboards from their first year in the apartment, when Sam's face occupied the top of their skull and every cough was a secretion. It didn't matter how much time passed. Any photo from 6 months prior looked like photographic evidence of an alien. Sam was not human, but a gradually better approximation. Even now, if someone knew what to look for, they could see the signs. The eyes too high up on the cranium, the roundness of the mouth. There were other inconsistencies hidden within the mind, their perception of reality, their capacity for memory.
He thought I'd be a girl. Then you said you thought I'd be a boy.
They scooped up another spoonful, smiled.
Because I ate so much of Dada.
The air in Mandela's lungs disappeared. Sam scrunched their eyes at their mother, but it was Guy looking at her. Her child sat up from their seat, walked over to Mandela, and took her hand between both of theirs. Sam knit Guy's brows together, a question pouting their lips.
Can I watch TV?
Mandela wiped tears onto her pajama sleeve. Yeah, sure. She waited to hear the TV click on, the familiar theme song of Daniel Tiger filling the cramped apartment, before she let herself cry. She left the apartment Guy died in, spent all their savings, left a good school district for less space and higher rent, but his loss followed. She had thrown out his shirts, and his games, the furniture, anything she could picture him with, but his smell lingered. She worked all night, watched Sam all day, never had enough hours to be a good mother or an employee, but no chore could blot out his absence. There was no escape. When the call came, she was too weak to put up a fight. It was 9 p.m., the baby monitor's signal flickering. Sam was here, then gone. Here, then gone. Mandela was logging surveys for a toothpaste brand when her phone vibrated. She figured it was a debt collector and ignored it. 2 minutes later, a voicemail notification buzzed. She lifted the phone to her ear, expecting bad news.
Mandy? Hi, this is Marie. Marie.
She repeated.
Guy's mom? Hi. I know we haven't been the most forthcoming, but, well, I'd like to change that. Alan and I agree. We need to be a part of Samantha's life. If you're free, we'd love... What? It's on the counter. No, behind the jar. Alan, I'm on the phone. If you're free, we'd love to have you and Samantha over for dinner. Friday at 6, we'll order lasagna. They always have a very good salad.
She swallowed audibly over the phone.
I'm not going to point any fingers. I know what you'll say. Mandy, please. I insist. Please. We'd like to see you Friday.
Mandela had to count to 15 before the urge to throw her phone passed. Not going to point any fingers? I tried to reach you. I asked for help. You never once called Sam your grandchild. The isolation of those first months alone with Sam overwhelmed her, as though no time had passed, every nerve raw. Then the realization hit. Until that phone call, it had been 3 weeks since someone spoke her name. Mandy. Not quite her name, but close enough. Loneliness spoke louder than injury. Mandela drove a rental car through the backcountry, slowing down when the state road took her through low-population speed traps. She passed lawns dotted with threatening flags and yard signs promising love in 6 fonts: churches, farms, and churches. Sam had wanted to wear jeans and a button-down. Mandela talked them into a dress, all black and dotted in eyeballs, but a dress. She knew she couldn't explain her child's late gender determination to the devout Catholics. For tonight, Sam was not just a human, but a girl. The mother treated the evening like it was a car wreck. Her goal was to reduce the impact. The last time Mandela had visited the Gribbies, Guy did the driving. He had it down to 3 hours, though the map said 4.
There's nowhere for the cops to hide. It's deer you have to look out for. Anyway, remember, don't tell my parents about your divorce.
The Gribbies' love required lies to survive. Even before the first phase implant, it had been years since she and Guy had visited. After implantation, Guy's parents stopped answering his calls. And after their son was gone, she was amazed they knew Sam's name.
What do I call them?
Sam asked from the back seat. I don't know. As the first grandkid, I think you get to pick.
How come I've never met them?
Mandela gripped the steering wheel until a knuckle popped. I don't know. We'll have to ask.
And their dad has parents?
Mm-hmm. And it's the house Dada grew up in. Sam's face drained of humor. Such an adult look for little more than a toddler.
I should like to see that.
Something in the tone, like they were scratching their chin and swirling a snifter, made Mandela laugh. She stifled it. The mother and child stood by the front door but didn't knock. Mandela held her arms around her only family, fighting unexpected panic. A thought rang in her skull. They'll never accept Sam. She began to pull her child back to the car when the red door swung open. A gaunt woman in pristine athleisure occupied the doorframe, waving at the pair with a chirping smartphone. Mandy, goodness, get in off the porch or my ringer app will never shut up. Before Mandela could say a word, Sam ran up and hugged the taut-lipped woman.
Mimi, we're here, Mimi.
Mimi, Mandela thought to herself. Where did they get that? Mrs. Allen Gribby did not embrace the child. She recoiled, cords going tight in her neck. The grandmother connected eyes with Mandela and tried to put on a better show. She forced a smile and tapped a hand to the child's shoulder like testing an iron.
Oh, yes, of course. It's a joy to meet... to see you,
too. But
She swallowed her saliva.
let's call me Grandma'am, okay?
Marie finally looked her grandchild in the face and gasped. Mandela knew the reason. The woman discovered her dead son's face on another. Anxious howling resounded from inside, breaking her focus.
Alan, put lollipops in the laundry room.
Mandela and Sam followed the grandmother inside. The home smelled like pine-scented cleaner and medicated cream. Entering the foyer, they caught a glimpse of Alan Gribby as he fought a basset hound into a dark laundry room with kicks of slippered feet. The door shut to an outcry of howls.
Oh, I almost forgot.
Mrs. Gribby said, ducking around the corner.
I'll be right back.
Alan returned from wrangling the dog. His breathing was labored, back bent so his shoulders rose above his forehead. His hair was pure white, save thick black eyebrows like wiggling caterpillars, with frown lines carved into his face from gout.
There she is. Hi, sport.
Alan waved.
His
words fell away. He stared at Sam, frown lines prominent.
And there I thought you were a girl. Spitting image. Son, that shirt, it's a little long. Looks almost like a...
He studied the child's face and clicked his tongue. Sam hid behind Mandela's legs. Mrs. Gribby returned from the bedroom, presenting a rectangular package.
All right, miss. This is for you. Let's unwrap it in the dining room. We would have sent it on your birthday, but, well, no one gave your address.
Mandela groaned as quietly as she could. They passed the decorative crucifix hanging in the hall to stand under the crucifix hanging in a darkened kitchen.
Gogger! Dining room on! Dining room on!
Dogger!
Alan joined.
Dining room, turn on!
Right away, Alan.
A British voice intoned from a hidden speaker. The room lit up overbright.
Sit at the table, sweetheart. No, not there. That's Grandpap's chair. Here.
Sam knelt in the chair so they could hover over the package, pulling the wrapping paper apart at the taped seams. Their excitement faded as the paper tore away to reveal the faux leather cover of a thick paperback.
A dictionary?
No, dear.
Marie Gribby said with tremor.
It's a Bible. Your Bible.
Sam looked to Mandela for guidance. Receiving only a blank stare in response, Sam rose to hug the woman again. The grandmother made another exit.
I'll grab the lasagna. Take your seats.
Mandela, Sam, and Marie sat at the table. Alan said,
I'm not hungry.
then watched TV in the adjoining living room. A show about 3 cousins who build tree houses blared while the family ate. You're right, Mandela tried to say over a chainsaw roaring on the TV. This is good salad. Marie smiled without her eyes. Sam wasn't eating anything, but watching a commercial about motor oil.
Alan!
Marie called over loud.
Can you turn that off?
He twisted in his recliner.
I'm kinda watching it.
Mandela sliced the lasagna and plated the pieces while Marie remained seated, absorbed either in her mind or a commercial about mesothelioma. When Mandela gave everyone their plates, Marie gathered a piece on her fork, then pretended a thought struck her.
Oh, so I'm sure you saw what the Pope said the other day.
What's the Pope?
Sam asked. A stunned silence followed. Mandela was far from Catholic, hardly a Christian, yet she felt guilty for Sam's ignorance. Who is the Pope? She corrected. Is it Benedict? John?
Germain. And he didn't just say it. He wrote a whole encyclical, The Perfect Innocence of the Child and the Absorption of Grace. No one read that, though. They just saw his pronouncement. What else can you do after a schism? He had to state the truth clearly for all to hear. Try explaining that to the media.
Mandela felt as lost as Sam did moments earlier. Schism?
Yes, dear. The Marians.
The Marians. The Catholic sect behind the plasmonellid implantation centers. The cult she blamed for Guy's death. A clip Mandela saw in a news profile suddenly made sense. She had heard what the Pope said, or at least she saw his face, typically calm and crease-eyed in reverence, instead furrowed into a spitting rage.
Heretics. I cast them out. Out!
They left the church? Alan stirred in the other room.
Excommunicated. And good riddance. All that Mary stuff? Nuh-uh. It's Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. She's not even top 3. And all that junk with the parasites.
Fury burned Mandela's cheeks. What did you just say? Before he could continue, the dog skidded barking into the room.
Alan?
Marie shouted.
Alan! Lollipops is out!
I know!
He took off his slipper and swiped it at the dog.
Lolly, god damn it, get back in there.
The dog raced, barking around the room, sliding on the hardwood. It ran up to Sam, then froze. For a split second, Sam's prehensile tongue slipped out of their mouth, flicking at the presence of the dog. Lollipops yipped and scampered to the laundry room.
Like I said, the media didn't see that.
Marie continued like nothing happened.
They saw His Holiness shouting, but they didn't listen. His message was love. Love for the children. Children who bear no fault for their unnatural conception.
Mandela grit her teeth. So this is why you called me? Because the Pope yelled on his balcony?
It's not that. It's...
Marie set down her fork and took a deep breath.
It took me a lot of prayer and reflection to come to this. I don't blame Samantha for Guy's death.
Mandela wanted to slap her.
And I don't blame you, Mandy. It's the Marians' fault. Them and their heresy. I'm sorry it took me so long to see.
Mandela slammed her fork on the plate. She counted to 5, then spoke in an even tone, repeating an argument she had rehearsed in her mind hundreds of times. But you did. You did blame Sam. Blamed me. No, you couldn't ever blame your fertility cult of a church. You waited until you could absolve your faith, even though those twisted beliefs killed your son. We needed you. I needed you. I've been completely alone. She stopped herself. Sam? The child looked away from the TV. One of the treehouse cousins was installing a hot tub. Go get your coat. Mandela pushed away from the table with a screech.
What did you do?
Alan yelled at his wife. Sam met Mandela in the foyer with their coat, as well as the Bible. They looked close to tears. The dog was howling. Marie was running up as Mandela opened the door.
Gogger, hallway on! Gogger!
Mandela was out the door.
Wait, please. I didn't say it right. That's my fault. Please, I have one more gift.
We're already gone. She took Sam's hand and pulled, but felt resistance. The child couldn't look away from their grandparent. The old woman seized her chance. She pointed a shaking finger up the stairwell to the second floor.
Samantha, don't you want to see your father's bedroom?
Mandela looked in Sam's eyes. Guy's eyes. She couldn't deny them. Marie hadn't changed a thing. Mandela remembered the prom photos, the track medals, the grade school art class pottery on the shelves and the bookshelf of sun-bleached fantasy novels. Every surface dusted, the carpet vacuumed. The only thing changed were the sheets.
Can I touch his things?
Of course, Mandela told them. While the child investigated the trophies, Marie pulled Mandela to the side. She hid her face and whispered,
You were right. I did blame Samantha. I blamed you.
Light reflected off the tears on the rims of her eyes.
And I deprived myself. You aren't the only person who's completely alone.
You have Alan. The old woman scoffed at that. Mandela couldn't suppress a smile. And it's just Sam, by the way. They haven't gendered yet. The old woman shivered.
I hate hearing you describe her, them, like that. Makes them sound like a chicken or a toad.
If you can't accept that, then we can still leave.
How long did Dad live here?
Sam interrupted, looking at an ancient framed T-ball photo.
His whole life.
Marie said, placing a careful palm on Sam's shoulder.
Until he went to college. But it's not his room any longer.
Sam tilted their head. unsure what this meant.
It's your room.
Marie looked to Mandela for confirmation.
If you want, that is.
This was a one-time thing. Maybe a Christmas sometime if I can take off work. But we don't need our own room here.
I'm not talking about visits. We want you to have the house.
Mandela felt her jaw slip open. What?
Alan can't use the stairs anymore. Maybe if we had a bedroom on the ground floor, but even then, it's too much for us. We want you to have a proper home. For Sam.
A confused hope stirred in Sam. Mandela shook her head. That's nice and all, but we could never...
That's not all. We want to help with school, too. As long as it's Catholic, of course. But St. Joseph's is just down the road. With the kindergarten. Sam could start next year.
Marie, this is... Mandela uttered without breath.
It's where Guy went.
Mandela couldn't help it. Tears filled her eyes.
I know I wasn't there for you. Let me fix it. For Guy.
Mandela wanted to resist. She wanted to stoke her anger, the isolation she thought she'd never escape. She began to cry. Marie embraced her, and the two women clasped each other, holding the other up. Mandela broke the embrace. She took Sam's hand and pulled them out the door against their will. "Thank you for dinner," she spoke over Sam's cries. Mandela dropped off the rental car at the airport. After the air tram and a bus, she and Sam were finally on the subway to their apartment. It was only midnight. She replayed the conversation in Guy's bedroom, felt again the emotions, nervous hands scratching her neck. The child held onto the pole, studying the ads.
What's an opioid?
Not every 4-year-old could read. There were times the child truly amazed her. An opioid is a bad thing big companies paid doctors to give people. People in pain. And it made them feel better.
Then why is it bad?
Because even if you don't feel the pain, it's still there. So that people always needed it. But then the doctors wouldn't give them more, even though they were the ones who hooked them.
What's hooked?
It means her next thought disappeared. A man was staring at Sam. He sat 2 lengths of seats away, a meaty square in a bright red polo, disgust animating his face. It means even if you know it's not good, you still want it.
Why?
His face was nearly as red as his polo, mumbling words to himself. Because after so much pain, you'll take any help, even if it kills you. The man stood up now, eyes centered on Sam. She thought she was imagining his attention. He just looked like some guy on his way home from work. But as he began to walk over, shoulders pumping, she sensed intention. Mandela grabbed Sam's hand and tugged them to the opposite end of the train car.
I'm still reading.
They cried. Mandela checked behind her. The man was following them, marching with long strides. She and the child reached the door to the next train car, and Mandela began pulling it open.
We're not supposed to.
Sam gasped. The man was closer now. Mandela could see the sweat shining on his face.
I know what you did.
He shouted. Sam finally saw the man, their whole body tensing as Mandela ripped the door open. The whir of the train overwhelmed both of them, and the man's shouts disappeared. Sam's eyes were wide in complete terror. Mandela was the one who warned them never to go between the train cars, read them the sign about the 200 people who died every year doing this very act. She watched the train whir by under her feet as she pulled Sam across the gap. She slammed the next train door open and pulled Sam inside. The door didn't shut behind her.
I'm talking to you, host.
Mandela turned to see the man looming over her. Dozens of passengers watched, but at every turn of her head they ignored her. She pulled Sam behind her.
You should be locked up for what you did. It's unnatural, sick. And you,
He turned his attention to her child.
parasite.
The train began to screech to a halt. Mandela shoved the man away. "Don't you speak to them!" The red polo staggered and started laughing.
For the Lord Lord saith, I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed.
No one paid attention. They were used to ignoring manic Bible verses. The train doors opened.
This is a downtown-bound H train. The next stop.
The man
is
focused his rage at the child hiding behind their mother.
He shall bruise you on the head, and you shall bruise him on the heel.
He was close enough to touch Sam, but afraid to touch. He had never seen one so close.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
Mandela yanked Sam backwards. They just cleared the closing doors, landing on the platform as the man hit the plexiglass of the door window. He shouted, but the metal and plastic muffled him. The train pulled away.
This isn't our stop!
Sam cried. Mandela didn't say anything. At home, Mandela listened to the radiator whine, cars blasting music down the street, a neighbor watching TV through the walls. It used to comfort her, the sound of adjacent humanity. Now she worried what beliefs wormed in their brains, what news channel they were watching, what face they gave to their fear. She never thought something like the incident on the train would happen in the city. In her city. Those kinds of hatreds were for the country, she thought. Small, backwards towns like where Marie and Alan lived. But it was everywhere. There was no escape. Mandela carried Sam to bed. They were still shaking. She turned off the lights, switched on the sound machine and the humidifier, but the child's eyes were wide open.
What's a host?
Mandela grimaced. It's a creature who had another creature living inside their body. A person with a tapeworm, or a snail with wasp larvae. Or it's someone who welcomes people, accepts them into their home.
Like Grandmam?
Mandela paused. Yes, like Grandmam. Guilt bit into the mother's stomach. She had heard so much hatred in the old woman's voice, hidden behind every passive-aggressive comment and misgendering. But the man on the train, that was hatred. Maybe Marie just had cobwebs of it left in her brain, enough to obscure her speech, but maybe not enough to define her.
If it's a good thing, then why did it make him mad?
I don't know. But it's nothing you did. You never listen to what someone like that tells you, ever. Do you hear me? Sam nodded. Mandela squeezed them tight. The child nestled into her chest, yellow tongue extending to lace through her hair. She was wrong. There was a closeness between them, stronger than any bond she had ever felt. Yet however strong it was, she could never peer inside the child's head, know if her words of comfort ever took hold. Did you like Dada's house? Sam whimpered a
Yes.
Alan and Grandpap and Grandmam said they wanted to be our house. You could live there. You could even go to Dada's school next year. Would you like that? She didn't need to look inside Sam's head to know the truth. Sam looked her in the eyes, bristling with pure enthusiasm.
Yes. I want to be like Dada.
Mandela held the child close, kept her breathing steady though tears stung her eyes. Okay then, she decided. Okay. The two fell asleep together, but apart, hands joined around a gap where a third person might fit.